Okay, good morning. Good evening, Mr. X's class. We're talking today about the word norm. Norm is a noun, and it's a situation or pattern of behavior that is usual or expected. The norm is like what people are normally supposed to do, kind of like an expectation. Norms are usually, sometimes we can use it to talk about written rules, but a lot of times it's not written rules. It's just rules about behavior that people know, even though nobody writes them down. Like they're accepted by society. For example, wearing shorts to a job interview. Unless, if you're interviewing to be a lifeguard or something, maybe that's okay, right? But in most job interviews, wearing shorts to a job interview violates social norms. People expect for a job interview, you'll dress up, wear nice clothes. So, in many jobs anyway, right? So if you come wearing shorts, your future employer might say, well, this person's wearing shorts, that means he or she doesn't care about the job. And so you might fail, even if you have other good things about yourself, because you violated the social norm, the expectation, people expect you to dress up for a job interview, you might not get the job. So social norms can be, can have big consequences sometimes. But probably nobody writes that down. I mean, if you're giving recommendations for a job interview maybe, but like, they're not going to have a set of rules. You must come to the job interview not wearing shorts. Wear nice clothes. Wear a business suit for a man, or nice dress, or business suit for a woman, right? They wouldn't write that anywhere, but it's a norm. So in Spanish, norma, not Norma our student, but norma the word. And so here's another example of social norms. And we often use this with either the word social or the word cultural. Social norms or cultural norms. Those are really two ways to say the same thing. They're two ways to say expectations about what people should normally do. So here's an example. D.H. Lawrence is a novelist who wrote in the late 19th and early 20th century. His novels were attacked by many critics. So especially there's a famous one called Lady Chatterley's Lover. And they were attacked because critics felt they violated cultural norms about marriage. Because people thought you shouldn't have a novel, because in the novel a person has an affair, outside of her, a woman is married and she has an affair with a man who she's not married to. And up till that time in most novels, if people wrote about that at all, they talked about how bad it was. And this book did not say how bad it was. It was like her marriage was trapping her, she felt free because she was, expressing herself with this other man, and like it was, which is totally against traditional morality. So people said that's a cultural norms about marriage and about how marriage should be shown in literature. So that's an example. If anybody, if you know from Glass Menagerie, which you read in English too, there's a part where the character, the mom in Glass Menagerie, Amanda, gets mad at the son because she says, "You're reading that book by that awful Mr. Lawrence," which is this. So that book violated cultural norms, so many people were offended by it. So that's an example. Literature can sometimes either violate cultural norms or not. So if it does violate cultural norms, it can be controversial. People don't like it sometimes. And yeah, we can use cultural and social. We can use the word violate. It means go against cultural norms. Like it goes against expectations of what people should do. Some word families. This one is, I think, more common than the main word, actually, right? Normal. But it's related. Something that's normal means something that follows norms, follows what you expect. What's the part of speech that's normal? Adjective, right? Describes. AL. And there are different words that end in AL that are adjectives. How about normality? No. Normality. Iti. In Spanish, edad. What's that? It's a noun. It's talking in general about the state of being normal. El estado de ser normal. That, iti, edad, usually it's a noun for the state of something, like, I'm trying to think, can't think of another one right now. But, yeah, iti is a noun ending. Okay, and then here, this one, people should get this. What's the ly? What's ly mean? Who votes for adjective? Good, I'm glad you didn't. Okay. What is it? Adverb. Usually, not always. There are exceptions. There are exceptions. Friendly is an adjective. That's an exception. But most of the words that end in ly are adverbs, which just in which often adverbs usually describe verbs. So this would, if you say normally, it's talking about how you do something. He is walking. I'm walking normally. Walking normally. But if I don't know, if I'm walking like this or something, I'm not walking normally, right? So the way I'm walking. Okay. Synonyms for norm: average, standard, or benchmark. A benchmark is like it's like where you start from when you're measuring something. So if you sort of say like this is normal, and then we're going to see if it goes up or down from that. So like you define something as normal. That's a benchmark. When you're testing or something. So an antonym opposite could be exception, because the norm is what you expect. The exception is not what you expect. It's the opposite of what you expect. All right. Questions about norm? I would say, yeah, right. If you want to write sentences, when you're going to write sentences, a good way to do it is you could use the word social or cultural, and maybe you could use the word violate, or you could say follows. The opposite of violating the norms would be following. I didn't say that. So if a person does do what's expected, he came to the job interview wearing a business suit, which follows cultural norms, you could say. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you for filming.